Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. As was promised, this is a new series. I'm gonna entitle this one 100 hours. Yeah, that's it, 100 hours. Every 100 hours, we have to change the oil filter and the oil on the airplane. So I thought, why not give an evaluation of what was what was the 100 hours like? There's so many things that happen within 100 hours of flight time. So I'm not going to tell you about the whole thing that transpired within the 100 hours, but I'm going to give you the top 7 stories that happened during the 100-hour flight time. So without further ado, and by the way, yeah, I'm not gonna give you any videos. There's no videos, there's no pictures. You're just gonna have to take my word for it. So basically, we started the oil change. The fresh oil change was on the 26th of the 6th 2020, and the next oil change was the 12th of the 8th 2020, which is 1.5 months. So within a month and a half, I flew 100 hours. Here's a summary of what transpired during that 100 hours. I transported 61 patients. Yes, 61 patients were transported. Returning patients, meaning they were transported, they wanted to go back home, and due to the COVID situation, we have become the only means of transportation for a lot of individuals. 25 patients were successfully brought back home. Watchers, which is the assistant to the patient here in the Philippines, when individuals are sick, they are not just going to the hospital. They bring a family member or a relative or a friend that can accompany them during their time that they will be spending in the hospital. Approximately 56 watchers were successfully transported with these patients. I burned 956 gallons of fuel. Yes, friends. So that's about 10 gallons an hour on the airplane, which is amazing performance from this airplane. It's very economical on fuel. It gets the job done, and I can't complain at all. Cargo, which would be, like medicines, supplies for the pastor, for the church, for the community, for the government, various things show up on that airplane as cargo, even specimens from the hospital. I transported 1,791 pounds of cargo. Stranded family members, I call them passengers, but we're not an airline. So these are individuals who are categorized as locally stranded individuals. There's a medevac request. I have space on the flight, and I will accommodate family members who are stranded trying to be reconnected with their family. 91 of them, yes, you heard me, 91 locally stranded individuals were able to successfully get to their destination. Some not just locally stranded, some were doctors, some were nurses, frontliners, PNP officers, etc. Government officials were a part of that. And so, it was just an amazing experience to look at. Within a month and a half, I flew 100 hours. That's just amazing. But it's not about the flight time for me. It's about the stories. So to close off episode 1 of 100-hour check, that's what I'm gonna call it. 100-hour mission aviation check report. Basically, the plane goes into maintenance, and I want to give you guys a snapshot view of what transpired within 100 hours. So I have selected the top 7 stories. I'm a 7-day Adventist. I love the number 7. So I'm going to give you the top 7 stories that transpired under these 100 hours or during this 100-hour flight time. Story number 1. It's a little sad story. Senior citizen going home to die. It was a long day, took me around 6 hours to complete this mission. I got a request that there's a senior citizen in the hospital in Manila. The doctors cannot do anything for her, so they requested me to transport her home because she does not want to die in the hospital in Manila. She would like to die in Batanes, where she's from. So I remember I picked her up and I transported her, and she pretty much lied quietly throughout the whole flight. I transported her, and within 2 days, I got a message from the nurse at that hospital on the island that sadly she passed away. But the family was very grateful that at least they saw their loved ones alive, not well, but alive, before she died. It was a little challenging getting her out of the airplane, but I picked her up and I held her in my arms. And tears. I fought hard to hold back the tears when I held that senior lady in my arms, and I thought to myself, what joy is there in this? But the family said they were very grateful that at least she died at home where she wanted to die. So that's the first story that stood out to me. The second one was um, a patient that died just before I took off. So the request came in. Weather did not permit me to fly a particular day, so the request piled up that day. I had a list of requests, and by the time I started to knock those missions off one at a time, my phone rang. I was actually in the run-up area. I was just about to put that thrust to take off when my phone rang from my contact telling me that unfortunately the patient had died. So instead of transporting the patient, I ended up transporting the body to be flown out for the funeral. Again, it's a sad story, but at least we were able to bring the family member to their location where they could at least give them a proper burial. That was the second story that stood out to me the most. Story number three, Pastor Carlo and his church supplies. This is a pastor in a remote area. It's very challenging. He does not have public commute. The church needs, we call them Sabbath school quarterlies. These are books that the church use every 3 months. The church use these little things to have their study going every Sabbath. So he ran out of supplies. He needed to replenish. He needed to also go out to submit his report to the conference office. So I flew him, I drove him as well, and that stood out for me. And I took him back to his station with his supplies. It was a whole lot. I had to use the entire airplane just for him and his supplies. And so that one stood out for me a lot, to know that even the local Seventh-day Adventist pastor and the local Seventh-day Adventist church that has about 85 members were able to benefit from our aviation ministry. Story number two, I had two little girls, very young, that was sexually molested in their area. They needed to go out immediately to see an OB-GYN, and I was asked to transport them. It was really sad for me because you're looking at these young girls already being molested sexually, and it was one of those missions that broke my heart, but I mustered up the strength and the courage and I took them out. I got feedback that the first one I transported, the OB-GYN confirmed that she was attempted rape and sexually molested, and they were able to file a case, and the culprit is behind bars. So that was mission number four that stood out to me. Number five, critical patient from an accident that broke multiple ribs, and we had bad weather. So what happened is I got the request that the person fell, broke there's water in the lungs, he's having difficulties breathing, etc. The weather was bad, but I had enough visibility and clearance to at least attempt the mission. I put extra fuel where, just in case I have to go around a huge system, I have enough fuel to give me more flight time. to go and help. I prayerfully left home. I started the mission. I navigated around the bad areas of the weather. I chased the rain. I outrun the rain home to the airport to drop him off, etc. And mission was successful. After doing the mission, I got a face-to-face conversation with my contact telling me that the patient basically was intoxicated with alcohol, and it was not just a simple injury. The patient broke multiple ribs that was piercing against the lungs, and that's what caused the severe pain. So had there been a delay, it's possible that the injury would have been severe and it could have led to death. That was story or mission number 5 that stood out to me the most. Mission number 6, a number of pregnant ladies. Oh man, I'm telling you, I found out that there is no ultrasound machine in these coastal areas. There's no hospital. And that is why most of my patients are actually pregnant women. Many of them, it's their first pregnancy. And the blessing with these missions when it comes to pregnant women is more than likely they always survive. Yes, most times they survive, even if they have to do an emergency C-section, they survive, they give birth, and I'm so blessed to see that cute little baby boy, that cute little baby girl. And I know when I bring them home, mission was successful. Number 7, yes, number 7 is the one that stood out to me the most. Number 7 is a brain surgery patient all the way from Batanes. This one, I went far and beyond. Yes, I went far and beyond. I transported her. She did the surgery. The surgery was successful. She called me up after the surgery because we were in contact with each other, texting and so on. And after I got her info and we kept in touch. She kept me updated with the surgery and how she's recuperating. She contacted me asking for a request to get home. She was not able to help herself financially to get home. She struggled to find people, so I did the craziest thing. I went beyond our ministry's protocol and procedures to help people, and I contacted close bosom buddies of mine from the Adventist church that I met in the States, pleading with them to dig into their finances, even though they're not working as much hours. I contacted my adopted brother from San Diego and I pleaded with him. I call him Kuya. I said, Kuya, please, I have a patient that wants to go home to be reunited with her family, but we lack the finances to get fuel to transport her. He gave the donation of around $400 and I brought her home. I didn't tell her what I'm doing. I kept it as a secret. But finally I revealed to her, I said, Ate, don't worry. God has provided the money to get the fuel to take you home. And you know what, friends? When I brought her home, I didn't have to ask her. I could tell, the look on her face. It was her mom, her sister. And it was such a blessing to take her back home. Even up to this day, we're still friends. And you know what happened? God worked it out in such a way that I got stranded at an airport because of weather. I didn't have money for a good hotel. I had money just enough for a cheap hotel that was not safe for me. And I posted on Facebook that I'm stranded in this area looking for somewhere to lay my head for the night to fly home the next day. And you know who came to my rescue? That brain surgery patient. She contacted her sister in that area. Her sister picked me up, took me to her little apartment, and gave me a comfortable place to lay my head for the night. And I saw where I helped her before, and then she later on helped me. I just want to say, without your prayers and without your donation and without your support, should I put a little piano in there? No, I won't. I'm not that good of a pianist. But God has been good. He has been faithful. He has sustained the airplane for another 100 hours. He has provided the means to go for another 100 hours. 91 passengers got help. How many patients again? Let me check my list here. I don't want to mess up the figures, friends. But 61 patients got to their destination. And out of all of that, about 5 or 6 of them died. But even though death came into the picture, the mission was still a success because family members and friends saw the Adventist Aviation Ministry come into their aid at a time when their family needed help. God bless. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your support. And we look forward to episode 2 when we will share with you what transpired on the next 100-hour Mission Aviation flight check. God bless, and we'll talk soon.